You said Forest Road 30 and
Correct.
Skookum Meadow?
Yeah, just look up Skookum Meadow online for directions on how to get to it.
Hey, welcome. We got one person in here. We're going to give it a couple minutes, let the notifications go out. Welcome, welcome. J-Twist, what's going on, brother? Mama Ranch, how are you? I'm going to make you guys mods on here. We're going to wait a couple minutes, then we'll go live. Or officially be live. Standard. There you go. Got a couple mods in here. So we're up here, actually, where I did the video, last weekend's video. Hey, we got 3 people in here. Cool. Jason, what's going on? Out working, so I have to leave this in the background. Hey, no worries. So we will flip this around. Mama Wrench, you still in here? We got 3 people in here. Who else in here? I know J-Twist is. You love how catchy gift shops are? Okay. So, yes, we are live from the North Fork Survivors. This is Joe. Say hi, Joe.
Hello, welcome. First time on a live stream. This is definitely different.
We're both mic'd up, so hopefully you guys can hear us okay. Hopefully.
It looks like they can hear us.
7, and we got 7 people in here. Wow.
Wow.
All right. First live.
Yeah, Charlie wanted to
channel.
do this today because I'm doing this crazy project with the Mount St. Helens eruption, and we've found a lot of amazing artifacts that have been hidden for 43 years. What I wanted to do, and the reason why I wanted to work with Charlie today is see if you guys had any specific questions about kind of the work we're doing here. What do you want to see? Stuff like that. Maybe go walk around the shop. Hey, our time is yours at this point.
So, yep, this is basically going to be a Q&A. We got 2 mods in here. Congrats to J-Twist and Mama Wrench. You're collecting wrenches quicker than Thanos collected stones. So let's get the camera back around. What do you want to show?
What do they want to see?
What do you guys want to see? You're like a version of hot chocolate no one talks about. Appreciate that, Toads.
Toads was talking about me.
So it's talking about you? Anything. All right. Well, they got a lot of Mount St. Helens. They got a lot of Bigfoot, Sasquatch. Just going to start our way back here. Toads McFroggy. It's a heck of a name. Your parents
They must be proud.
They must be proud.
Yes, I said it.
Mama Wrench wants to know what your most popular item is.
Most popular item in here. They mean that we sell?
Sell or what is most talked about?
Most talked about. Oh, that's an easy one. Actually, let's go for a walk. And they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So we're gonna walk over here. We're gonna go right out into the bad weather and stuff.
Can't be living in the evergreen state without rain.
Yes. All right, so I'll let Charlie go in first here. So this is hands down the most famous car associated with the Mount St. Helens eruption. And I found it 2 years ago. And if we can get a shot of this right here, you may recognize that photo. It's in all the history books and magazines, National Geographic, any kind of documentaries that are done. And that is the car that belonged to Mr. Reed Blackburn. And we've got his picture in a write-up right there. Recommend everybody that's on this live stream right now, if you have some time later tonight, to do a little research. Type in the name Reed Blackburn, Google search, and you'll see that photo. Read his story here in the Northwest. He's one of our own. And this car was supposedly pulled out in 1981 and scrapped, and that's what history knew until 2 years ago. I get a phone call from the son of a friend of mine who had saved a lot of items, and I go over to the house and I see the back of a Volvo 144 and realize that we just found a car that was unknown to history for 43 years, and it was sitting on a property rotting and falling apart. So I brought it inside here and spent a year putting it back together and prepping it for public display. And now we're doing a live stream talking about this car because Mr. Blackburn, his widow Faye, is still with us in Vancouver, and via conversation with her, she's given me her blessings to tell her husband's story, show the car, and educate. And so now we can release it. But this has been a secret for almost 2 years. And now it is hands down the most talked about item that's inside of our shop. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yep. Mama Wrench says, OMG, I copied that photo from the newspaper her Nana Center. She did a pencil drawing of it for a book report.
Oh, very cool. Do you still have it?
She was actually telling me her mom, her Nana lived in Olympia at the time of the eruption.
Oh, very cool.
So
the pencil drawing, if you have that, we collect items to put on display in the museum here. If you want to get involved and be a part of this, North Fork Survivors in Toutle, Washington, Mount St. Helens Museum, you can look us up. We're the location for the buried A-frame. And if you want to send that and have the public see it, that is the types of things that we look for. Not only historical relics and original artifacts, but stories and drawings and pictures and everything from everybody that was involved with this, even down to a book report on the subject. So
unfortunately, she doesn't have it anymore.
Oh no, okay. And you know what? That actually brings up something quite important, and that is that a lot of these items are being lost just to life. It's been over 4 decades, and that's really what my mission is here, is to save all of these things before they're thrown in the garbage. I like to say that it takes 1 generation of people to not know what grandma and grandpa have hiding in their basement or garage, and they throw it in the garbage, and this whole representation of history is lost. Other fun things for you. The people that are in this live stream, and with Charlie Checks Out, I've been giving him, he's a great friend of mine, so I've been giving him all these cool things to do, so he's breaking these amazing things. First one ever with the people that are on this live stream. I'm going to show you something kind of cool here.
Yeah, we'll be able to check that out here in a minute. Also, have any diamonds been found yet near the volcano?
Not to my knowledge, no. The type of terrain and the rock that is there, not really good for diamonds. The problem is that St. Helens, the vent is fed by crustal material that has been melted, and generally we see diamonds associated with volcanoes that have basalt coming up from the mantle of the planet. St. Helens is not that type of volcano, so the minerals that are coming up are basically not the types of minerals you would find diamonds in. Outstanding question, actually. I've never had anybody ask that before.
And they're asking, actually, if it's okay to see the inside of the car.
Absolutely.
Before.
Absolutely.
So you guys are in a very small circle of people that have actually seen the inside. And you were telling me how many buckets of ash, how many pounds of ash you had to take out of the car?
2,500 pounds of ash was inside of the car. From my colleague Richard Waite, who wrote a book called In the Path of Destruction, good reading material, they determined that it was 392 degrees Fahrenheit that this car withstood at 7.5 miles from Mount St. Helens.
So yeah, this is the exact same car in this famous photo. And you can see the antenna is still attached.
That was one of the more important things too. When I did the stabilization of the car, that antenna was key to telling this story. Well, how is an antenna important? Well, if you look at the antenna, you can see the bottom part of it is bent outwards, and that was protected by the roof line, and the top of the antenna is bent facing away from the mountain. In this presentation, it's slightly turned more towards the front of the vehicle because of the proximity of the wall and so forth, but it takes a huge amount of force to bend a thin item like that. It's estimated at about 400 miles per hour the surge was moving when it went over the car. The windshield is gone, and what we have now, the recovery personnel that brought Mr. Blackburn home 2 days after the eruption removed the windshield to access the car, and that's why we don't have a windshield now.
But otherwise, some of the windows were blown out in the
Correct.
eruption.
All of the side windows and the back window was blown out. The windshield stayed intact.
Yeah, pretty crazy, huh, Jason? So they brought it in to help preserve it. So you were wanting to show something over here?
Yeah, everybody watching probably knows who Harry Truman was at Mount St. Helens Lodge.
Yes, not the president.
Not the president.
Not the
Harry
president.
R. Truman. Harry S. Truman. S stood for nothing. It just looked cool with his name. But a fun thing is we have the only surviving set of clothes that belong to Harry Truman: hat, shirt, pants, and boots. We even have a photo of him up there wearing the same items.
Hey, no problem, grilled Eggos. Grilled Eggos actually sounds pretty good.
Would the viewers like to see some things a little closer? I can go get a pair of gloves so I can touch some of these items. The little green book that's right there actually belonged to Harry Truman. That's his scrapbook. Would you like to see what's in there?
Yeah, would you guys like to see that? I can feel everybody typing yes now. Grilled Eggo says sure.
Sure. Okay.
All right, we'll go grab, or he will go grab some
I'm gonna go
gloves.
grab my gloves. Don't mind my mic being on and you hear me in the background. I'll be quiet.
Go back on the replay to watch this. Hey, no worries, Jason. Yeah, we're going to cover as much as we can, and we'll probably go an hour. Just kind of first live stream on the channel. That was fast.
I had them prepared. Every once in a while, I'm actually prepared and look like I know what I'm doing.
That's half the battle.
Correct. So like with any preservation, you have to put on gloves. The oils in your hands actually damage the paper products, anything that we have here. So the idea is to stop any kind of decomposition before or immediately after recovery of the items. We'll start out here with this. This is a little brochure that is from Harry Truman's Lodge. And this is early 1970s.
Yes, I did, Mama Ranch.
And here's a fun thing for you. What were the prices if you wanted to go stay up there? So you can see right here it says proprietor Harry Truman. And then on this side, he can get a shot of this. Here are the prices. Well, I'll stay very still with this.
Cabins furnished for 4 people, except bedding, $3 a day or $17.50 a week. 2 people, $2 a day, $12.50 a week. 6 people, $5 a day, $25 per week. Cabins have electric lights. Grounds for camping are also available. I don't know about you, but I'd love to be able to go camping, $17.50 for a week.
You know what I say at this point in today's day and age? You might as well just live there. It's cheaper than rent. Oops. So there you go. There's our little brochure. Now this right here is Harry Truman's scrapbook. And if the lighting is not good, I can make an adjustment here pretty quickly and we can get better lighting. I'm going to open this up, and right here we have a advertisement that Harry had gotten in the mail. And what's fun about this is,
Go ahead.
is that the Postal Service doesn't know what Harry Truman's P.O. box was. So we know that he got mail in Castle Rock and not up at Spirit Lake. He had to drive down to Castle Rock and so forth. But right here it says P.O. Box 96. So something that we discovered. Now Harry was known publicly as kind of this crotchety old guy that's up in the Spirit Lake area and so forth, and he was from West Virginia. He's also a really, really smart person. Here's an example of drawings of him working on projects. This particular one was actually in Prindle, Washington, and he's drawing kind of the schematic for a small home that he was putting together for his wife, Eddie. And this is 1971 when he was doing this. Now, Harry was also of the thought being that person that would reuse things. And so when we take this out, kind of fun, it's actually an advertisement. And there it says Mount St. Helens Lodge on it.
P.O. Box 96 via Castle Rock. Never seen that before.
And then we'll open this up. And here is the advertisement.
Wow.
Kind of neat. And then what he did was, is on the back of it, here is another drawing. So he was reusing paper that he got from the mail.
He kind of, just from what I've heard about him, he did not seem like the kind of person to waste anything.
Oh, not at all.
So a lot of this makes sense that he would reuse everything.
People that are watching probably know Harry Truman enjoyed Coke and whiskey. In every interview you see with him, he has a Coca-Cola glass with whiskey. We actually have one of his glasses inside. This is a drawing of the front of Tanglewood, the little home in Prindle. And if you look carefully right here, here are the stains from Coke and whiskey while he was working on that. So he has his glass sitting on there while he's writing these things. Pretty cool.
Now, Grilled Egos is wondering, how did you guys get this stuff?
Excellent question, right? How in the world do you get it? The whole story comes back to a friend of mine by the name of Clara Audison. Clara Audison was a historian like myself. She had the intention in 1980 when this event occurred, very smart lady, in fact, ridiculously smart. And one of the things we want to do here at this museum is tell her story. Women in history need to be recognized, and Clara absolutely needs to be recognized. So she decides that she wants to put together a museum, a lot of tourism coming in. And so she spends $96,000 of her own money collecting these items, bringing Mr. Blackburn's car out of the blast zone, Robert Williamsburg, Arlene Jolene Edwards, Howard and Joyce Kirkpatrick, and then all these other items that you see that she recovered from Harry's secondary little home in Prindle, Washington. And she puts them all together, and she puts together this museum. The problem is as smart as she was, the timing was off. People were still emotionally recovering from this event, and they don't show up for the museum. And so by 1982, she's out of business. It didn't work. She takes all of these items, she puts them inside of a building, and they sit there for 43 years. 12 years I knew Clara, she would joke with me and say, I have this great Mount St. Helens collection. You wouldn't believe it. I said, can I see it? No, you can't see it. Okay, fine. Would you sell it? I'll bring it here. No, never sell it. And she'd drop it and go on to another subject. I think she did that just to annoy me, frankly, just to like to dangle it. And I would tell my wife all the time, this will come around one day. We'll find out what it is. And so 2 years ago, I get word that she had passed, and goes through that whole thing. And then I get word from her son that apparently she left word for me to go out there and take a look at this collection. And her son says, well, I have some cars and some other items in the building. And I went, ooh, Mount St. Helens eruption cars. That'd be interesting to have. And I go there, and Mr. Blackburn's car is sitting there, and Robert Williamsburg, and all these iconic individuals. I go in, and we find all these items from Harry Truman sitting in there, unbeknownst to history, just lying in a building for 43 years. I recover the entirety of it. It was actually going to be thrown out. This house was being sold. I recovered it all, brought it here, and started taking things apart. Find out what in the world we're even looking at. And every time I go into a box, I find something new. So right now we have an archives building, 20 by 60 building, filled front to back with relics. What you're seeing for this presentation today is probably 20% of what we have. It's a lot that I have to go through. And so April, there'll be a narrative here, people can walk through and so forth. Got a lot of work to do this winter.
So Mama Wrench asks, does he have any spirit rocks? Her Nana brought her back river rocks from Spirit Lake that the Native Americans say represented souls lost to the mountain. One was the shape of an Indian princess, and the other was a turtle.
Interesting. We have quite a few rocks from Spirit Lake. We have rocks from Mount St. Helens. The spirit rocks, that's something new. I haven't heard that, so I'm going to have to look into that. I've never heard that before. See, you learn something every day.
Hey, exactly.
Right.
You learn stuff from videos, and you learn stuff from people watching.
So people that are on here right now, the general consensus when I have guests coming here, they say, you're the expert. I'm the expert of Mount St. Helens history. What in the world is an expert? The only thing an expert is somebody that on the weekend when their friends go out to the restaurant or something and they're having a nice evening, I as a nerd sit home, I'm reading books and watching documentaries and old videos and stuff, talking to people like yourself and learning these bits of information and just collecting. Do I know everything? Absolutely not. I learn something new every single day, and that's what's cool about this.
CH, welcome to the stream. Got a few people from my DoorDash channel and a few people that are not.
I love the DoorDash channel. Yeah. Absolutely.
Everybody loves sarcasm.
Trying to think what else we have in here that people want to see. There's quite a few other items. Mr. Blackburn, so actually I have a couple items that might be interesting to look at for Mr. Blackburn. They're close to him. And one of the things we know about him is while he was working up at Coldwater 1, 9 days he was there. He was due to leave on May 17th, the Saturday, and made the decision to stay until at least Tuesday night because he had to go to work on Wednesday. So he had some free time and decided to stay for a few more days. A life-changing decision. Mr. Blackburn really liked music. And we know that when he was going up to Coldwater 1, he had his tape collection with him. He had a Pioneer tape deck inside the car, which was a big deal in 1980. Everyone was running 8 tracks at that time. We also know that he stopped at schools on the way up there to talk to kids about volcanology and geology and photojournalism, and he did it on his own time. So when I do presentations now in public schools, and we talk about Mr. Blackburn, I bring his items with me and let the kids see these items that were affected by the eruption. So essentially, he's still teaching after 44 years. His tape collection is over here. I'll pull it out so that you don't have to kill yourself. And these are cassette tapes in their holders. And I'll bring this down into the light. Hopefully you guys can see that. And his calculator.
That is incredible that those survived.
Yeah, almost 400 degrees Fahrenheit at 7.5 miles. 400 Fahrenheit is what you're cooking a pizza at in your home.
So imagine putting a cassette tape or calculator in your oven with your DiGiorno.
Now, one of the things we teach about with these particular items, if you notice, they are distorted, but they are not a puddle. And here's why. The misconception is that this eruption put out this heat blast, this pyroclastic surge that engulfed everything and destroyed it, and that's true. However, it was a heat pulse and not an explosion or a sustained heat. People that survived the eruption or were very close to it all report the same thing, which is a concussive shock wave blowing the trees down, ash, rock, dust engulfing, world going black, temperature immediately going up. Average about through the entire blast zone about 400 degrees Fahrenheit. That's enough to melt your clothes, take the skin off your body. That lasted anywhere from 1 to 2 minutes and then immediately dropped off. And they report snow, ice, and debris, which is the trailing edge of this surge as it moved across the landscape, coming behind it in cooler temperatures. That's why these items that are affected by this eruption, we're seeing concussive damage, pieces of rock and so forth going through items and damaging them and bending them. And then we see heat damage indicative of a heat pulse. So, the item in with your DiGiorno is a great example, but it would be if you took your tape, put it in for 120 seconds and immediately pulled it out and let it cool, you would get this distortion and not a puddle of plastic flat because it was this heat pulse associated with it.
Now, would that be similar to like the heat that you feel on your face as you open up an oven?
Yes, but for 2 minutes, and you would have to imagine. So you open the oven to get your pizza out, and bam, this heat hits you. Now imagine if you're completely engulfed in that 360 degrees, and you have to stick your head in the oven and breathe that air. A lot of the victims lost their life not from the concussive shock wave or the heat burning their skin, but from breathing the air with this ash at 400 degrees Fahrenheit going into their lungs and burning the interior of their lungs. When we look through death certificates associated with victims, the number one cause of the fatality is ash asphyxiation, basically the superheated ash that was coming out. Some others will never know. They just were never found. People that were in close proximity to the eruption.
So, well, thank you, Mama Wrench, for that.
Yeah, we could go right down the rabbit hole, right? If you're.
Oh yes.
Anybody on there? Now I'm going to ask you a question since you're asking questions. Anybody out there know who Robert Landsberg was? Charlie and Charlie Checks Out did a really good piece on him, was showing a photograph and the photographs that he took. Hopefully you watched it. And he also took Charlie took some video of the tripod, which is sitting to my left. This right here is an absolutely amazing item to be sitting in here. This is the tripod that was lent to Robert Landsberg before he went up to Mount St. Helens. and was lent to him by his ex-wife, actually. It was recovered after the event. Mr. Landsberg had been recovered and brought home, and a gentleman by the name of Robert Rogers actually walked through the location that Mr. Landsberg was in. Car was in pieces and so forth. Mr. Rogers actually describes pieces of the car lying on the road, these chunks about this big. What's interesting is right to your left are those pieces from the road. So there's the doors off of the Dodge Coronet from Mr. Landsberg sitting there, and those were removed off of the road. Also, Robert Rogers picked up Mr. Landsberg's tripod that was lying in the road, and he has had it now in a storage container for 44 years. And my colleague Scott Kemery and I spoke to Mr. Rogers about 3 weeks ago, and he agreed to donate this tripod that he's had in this building for 44 years to the museum here to show it. If you read the book by Richard Waite, In the Path of Destruction, there's actually a section in there as mentioned about what happened with Robert Rogers walked through, and he picks up this tripod and brings it home. I remember hearing this story for the last 44 years, and here it is. To Mount St. Helens nerd like me, this is another holy grail to pull out, like Truman's clothes and belongings and Mr. Blackburn's belongings. Everybody associated with this is an important individual, and they all have their little piece to tell this iconic story. Now, all right, so this is what I do, right? I'm an educator, so I give homework assignments. This is a fun one, and I recommend if people have a chance this evening or whatever, if you want to write a little note down, go and do a Google search and type in the Mount St. Helens trespasser. And a story will come up about an individual that was very close to the eruption, Robert Rogers, and he was very close to it with him and a gentleman by the name of Francisco Valenzuela, the two of them closest people to the eruption to survive it. And so they, I don't know, if I was there and this eruption happens and it passes me at 200 or 300 yards away, I'm running for my life. It's terrifying. What do? They pass the camera back and forth, and they take selfies in front of it as it goes by. Robert Rogers spends the next 3 years of his life illegally entering the blast zone, first person to summit Mount St. Helens after the eruption. He did it illegally. He was known as the gray man of Mount St. Helens, and he would wear this gray jacket and pants. He had a motorcycle, a Honda Trail 90 that he painted gray, and he would ride in with branches behind it to hide the tire tracks as he was going. Absolutely incredible story when you read that. Hollywood needs to make a movie about that guy because everything that's in it is absolutely true. On my channel, I'm going to be showcasing Robert Rogers because Scott Kemery and I found him. We thought he was deceased a number of years ago, and we actually found him and went and sat and talked to him, and he's telling all these stories, and so we're compiling all this video to present to the public about this guy that did this incredible stuff. And I asked him, I said, Robert, why would you tell all this now? And he's like, well, I don't have to worry about it anymore. The statute of limitations has passed, so we're good. I'll tell you anything you want to know.
So Mama Rich says burnt lungs, going back to inhaling the ash.
Okay.
So it basically singed their lungs.
Correct. Burning your lungs, and then they no longer function. And that was a big problem with individuals directly affected by the surge from Mount St. Helens, because they survived, and then a lot of them walked out of the area, and then when they get to the hospital, they're being treated for burns on their body and so forth, and injuries and dehydration, all these things. But at the same time, there's this damage to their lungs. And generally what happens in that situation is that the damage of the lungs creates swelling, it creates fluid retention in the lungs, and in a cascade effect, the individual is not able to recover from it. And in 1980, they didn't have the detailed technology that we have now as far as medical care. Now they might be able to deal with that, but back then they couldn't. So unfortunately, these people who would lose their lives, weeks, months after the eruption, just from the physical trauma of breathing in the ash.
So, and anybody else have any questions about anything in here?
Yeah, we just
Oh,
little details.
the American flag. That is an amazing story.
Did somebody ask about that?
No, I just saw the
that's you
flag
noticing
and yeah.
So yes, that flag flew up in the Tudor River Valley. It flew there. I'm going to actually go over here because I don't remember the dates off the top of my head. And it belonged to a gentleman by the name of Pat Kilgore, who was known as the Snake Man. It flew June 3rd, 1980 to September 27th, 1981 on St. Helens Loop near Camp Baker. Pat Kilgore was known as the Snake Man of Kid Valley. He hung out at the Kid Valley store. He had a boa constrictor around his neck. He would talk with the tourists, take pictures with kids. Just a really fun person. After the eruption, that area was devastated, and the federal government would not let anybody go back in there. And Pat Kilgore, he lived up there. His home actually survived the eruption, and he wasn't allowed to go home. So in protest, he went in and he flew that flag up over his home in protest, saying that this is America, I should be able to go home. And eventually he won. They let him go back, and he pulled this flag down. And my friend Clara got it from him, and Mr. Kilgore signed right on here what the dates were that he had flown in. Pat Kilgore is also pretty cool because during the eruption, he was sitting at Kid Valley store. He didn't even evacuate. He was just sitting there like, yeah, something big's going on at the mountain. And two people showed up and saw him sitting there, and they started asking, because the bridges were out, any way to get out of here and so forth, you know, the logging roads? And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll show you how to do it. Jumps in the car with them, takes them through probably 10 wrong turns, almost goes into the surge and the devastation area of St. Helens, almost kills these people, and manages to find his way back out. And there's this whole big crazy story, if you want to look it up, Pat Kilgore, the Snake Man of Mount St. Helens, and the story where he just about kills these people, giving them directions. It's a fun story, but that's where that flag came from. You're probably noticing that there's clothes sitting here. A group of, or two individuals that we tell the story for here is Arlene and Jolene Edwards out of Portland, Oregon. Arlene, mom, Jolene, daughter. Arlene was a freelance photographer, and went up to Elk Rock that morning to take pictures. We know they had spare clothes in their truck. We have their truck, their Dodge W100 here. And these, we believe, belong to Jolene. In fact, this one even matches some photographs that we have. And the jacket kind of tells the story. We're looking to put together funding for the museum, trying to save a lot of this stuff that's outside. And in the interim, while I'm working on that, I'm pulling pieces and preserving items individually.
Oh, and we have the chainsaw behind us, or behind me currently.
Yeah, chainsaw. That chainsaw belonged to Mr. Wally Bowers. Him and Tom Godwa were out at Fawn Lake. Wally Bowers was a warehouser logger. He was working on the weekend, making extra money. His wife was suffering from cancer, and so he did everything he could to make money to try and help her. And we know that their area was devastated by the eruption. Their pickup truck that was with them, little tiny pieces, they were never recovered. Wally's son, Kevin Bowers, went with the family immediately after the eruption looking for Dad, and a lot of people did that because recovery forces were overwhelmed, and so people would just say, the heck with it, I'm going to look for him myself, and that's what they did. Kevin found his dad's chainsaw. That's a steel chainsaw that Wally had purchased in 1979, was his pride and joy, his newest saw that he was using, and Kevin found it and kept it for many, many years. He ended up giving it to a gentleman by the name of Dwayne Tryon out of Vader, Washington. Kevin, unfortunately, has passed. He had major health issues, and Dwayne had this in his shop building. And so Dwayne came here and contacted me and offered to donate this chainsaw to the museum so that we can tell Mr. Bowers' story. one of the main things we do here is we tell people's story, and also kind of work against this misconception that that these people were in areas they shouldn't have been. If you do any basic research on the Mount St. Helens eruption, you'll see the main thing that people talk about is that there was this red zone that went 4.5 miles around the mountain, and then a blue zone outside of that. Red zone, keep out, not allowed in there. Blue zone, you can go in, just be aware if something weird happens, you can drive away or whatever. And so the misconception was created by Governor Dixie Lee Ray. So the eruption happens, it's beyond anything anybody could imagine. Reports of people who lost their lives and so forth start coming in, and the governor immediately says, people were in areas they shouldn't have been. They're jumping gates and going up logging roads and going in all these areas that they shouldn't have. If they listened to law enforcement, we wouldn't have this. Okay, absolutely false statement, typical politicians, right? And here's the fact. Well, we have Harry Truman at Mount St. Helens Lodge. He refused to leave. That's on him. So he made his decision. Quarter mile from him, we have Bob Kesswetter and Beverly Weatherald, who were there under a state permit to photograph Mount St. Helens for geological studies. Okay, they're in there. Then we have Jim and Kathy Pluard out of Toledo. Jim Pluard's a Weyerhaeuser boss. He had driven up there to check landing sites, make sure that nobody is camping or hanging out in these landing sites so the crews can start work on Monday morning unimpeded. Those are the only people that are inside of the red zone when this event happens. The restricted zone, that's it. Even Dave Johnston, who we all know, famous geologist, Vancouver, this is it. He's over 5 miles away outside of the red zone. To the west, we have Jim Fitzgerald, another geologist up at Spud Mountain, and nobody knows his name. He's outside of the red zone. Robert Landsberg, he's outside of the red zone, actually positioned himself in such a way so that he wasn't breaking any laws where he was sitting. So, yeah, these people knew, and they were in areas, yeah, they went out for curiosity and so forth. But, for example, Arlene and Jolene Edwards, they're 8.5 miles, almost 9 miles away from Mount St. Helens on a mountain. You look at that, I mean, it's a huge distance, and you figure, I'm good. If something happens, I'll get in my truck and drive away. And instead, this surge comes out horizontal at 400 miles an hour, and less than 9 minutes flattens 240 square miles. It's just, you know.
So Grilled Ego asks, I have a couple questions here. Grilled Egos asks, is that blue thing right behind you a tent?
It is actually an umbrella, and it came from the campsite of Harold and Joyce Kirkpatrick, who were in a location known as Steamboat Rocks, just to the west of Elk Rock. And they were about 8.5 miles away. They're known for being found in October of 1980, very late after the eruption, and they were found by reclamation loggers. We have a seat pad right here, and then we have the umbrella, which was twisted up and melted.
And Kenneth asked, did cancer rates rise after the disaster?
Excellent question. We don't see any indication of rising cancer rates due to the volcanic ash.
Mama Wrench says, wow, the energies in that room are so strong. Souls past appreciate the dedication to preserving the history of what actually happened.
And you are absolutely right with the energy that's inside of this room. I'll actually just, I'll share something personal with you guys. Every day I walk in here, I greet everyone when I walk in, and when I leave at night and I turn off the lights, I say good night and I leave. Respect goes a long way, whether you're with us or not. I'm very big on respect with people. Every background, idea, doesn't matter who they are, respect. That's what's important in the world. Even these people here.
It's very much appreciated.
That's why if you noticed inside of Reed's car on the steering column, there's a flower put there. Because we recognize that Mr. Blackburn was sitting in the driver's seat.
Mama Wrench says they hear you.
Absolutely they do. Absolutely. Yep.
And that is the flower that he's talking about.
So this area is being converted. I don't know if anybody's close by to the Toutle area in Washington State or Oregon. In April of next year, this will be a narrative that you can walk through. You're getting to see it kind of, well, actually, you're getting the VIP tour right now because the general public's not allowed in here. This is going to be encased, and you won't be able to touch the car anymore, but you'll be able to walk through here, and all of these items will be out, including a lot of others. And so I have a lot to do this winter. If you'd like, we were talking about the gift shop. We'll go take a walk in there, and we can go down a couple of other rabbit holes if you're interested, and I'll show you some fun items that we have in there also.
Definitely. Grilled Egos, I believe, it's a 1969 Volvo 144.
144S, yes. Outstanding.
So,
oh, I got to give a shout out here, okay? So I work on Discovery Channel, Animal Planet. I do a lot of Bigfoot stuff. I work on Finding Bigfoot, and I work with Josh Gates, and now I'm doing Mount St. Helens curator stuff, all this crazy things. And so there's news articles and television shows and all this stuff that's done. And I have people come in who want to do programs about the Mount St. Helens story. And then when I see them, I cringe because everything's wrong in it. And so Charlie was working on this project, and he comes in and he filmed it for Charlie Checks Out, and then he puts it on his channel, and I sit down and I watch it, and I go, oh my gosh, it's the first person ever that got all the facts in this documentary that he put together, got them all correct. From beginning to end, 100% perfect. So there you go. It shows the caliber of what you're watching when you're watching Charlie Checks Out. And that's also another reason I agreed to do this live stream today and take questions and so forth, because somebody finally got it right. I'm not too judgmental, right?
well, I appreciate it.
Yes, finally got it right. Yeah.
Just all about documenting, what actually happened and not believing everything you read on Google or Wikipedia.
Yes. Actually, I love to pick on Google and Wikipedia.
Welcome in, Lisa.
So here's a fun one for you. I know exactly where we can go, and I'll show you something. I'm going to test all of you. You don't need to be archaeologists to get this right, but let's see what everybody says. Robert Landsberg, he's 4.5 miles away from Mount St. Helens. If you watch Charlie's episode on the Mount St. Helens eruption, he shows these photos in sequence. They're heat damaged and so forth. According to mainstream knowledge, the internet, and all the experts that sit on their couch and type on a computer, Robert Landsberg was a amateur photographer. He's out there taking pictures, and he gets this extraordinary event happen, and gets photos, and loses his life because of it. We found some of Mr. Landsberg's belongings inside of his car. His dashboard is actually sitting over there. If you'd like to show them the dashboard up close, yeah. And I'll kind of narrate in the background. His car is outside on its roof, and I recovered his dashboard because it's two reasons. One, it's an educational piece now. Number two, it shows that Mr. Landsberg did not start his car and try and drive away. In fact, the keys are in the ignition in the off position. The car is in park, and then the parking brake was on. And Dave Keeler and I found Mr. Landsberg's belongings still in the glove compartment after 44 years. Absolutely extraordinary. Mr. Landsberg has been a great teacher for us. He's taught us a lot about the event. And I'm going to show you guys the item that we pulled out that changed Mr. Landsberg's story for us. We'll go take a walk over here.
Head into the gift shop.
Yeah. Oh, out into the...
Out into the elements first.
Oh, what a sunny, beautiful day. This is great. It's so rainy out there, the motion light came on.
It's really not that dark.
Sorry.
Welcome. If you have any questions, let me know. We're doing a live stream right now, but this is kind of nerd area back here, so everybody is inclusive. If you have any questions, just jump in.
Okay.
Just be careful though. We got a bunch of people on. I might ask you questions too. They're pretty smart. So this little case right here is actually items that were recovered from Mr. Landsberg's glove compartment, and in there's an item. We found 6 of his business cards. Now, everybody take a look at that and tell me if you think he was an amateur photographer. And I'm going to stand here and wait a moment.
Luke, welcome in. Oh, it's a running joke on the other channel. Where Lisa goes, Luke follows, or where Luke goes, Lisa follows. So
Oh, that's funny.
it's a competition between the two.
Apparently, Luke won today. So those business cards, Robert Landsberg Images, and he owned a company that was doing 16 millimeter film, 35 millimeter film, editing, corporate consultations, all that good stuff. By no means an amateur. As a refresher, these are the photos right there that he had taken. Amazing story. He takes these 4 photos, realizes he's in trouble, and takes his camera off the tripod, drops it in a bag, drops the bag on the ground, lays on top of it, and uses himself as a shield to protect the camera. Well, he's found 17 days later, and the camera's checked and the film's intact. So he pulled it off. In fact, he even made it into National Geographic magazine, January 1981. Those pictures in his story. Put it bluntly, Robert Landsberg's total badass.
Kenneth says professional.
Yep.
Lisa and Luke, we'll call it a tie. Lisa asks what the white is in the photos.
Excellent question. So when you read about those photos online, they say that the photos were heat damaged a little bit. The white streaks that are in there are actually from the static discharge of the ash cloud when it went over the camera. So you see these videos of the St. Helens eruption, you see large bolts of lightning moving through the cloud, and those white marks are literally from the static discharge in the cloud moving through the camera. If you also notice too, the final photo has the most amount of damage because it was on the outside of the roll.
That one.
Yeah, really good question. Nobody ever asks about that.
That is a great question, Lisa. Thank you.
Sitting in front of you is the Coke glass we were talking about. Just kind of I have a bad habit of digressing on stuff, and in fact, when I make videos on my channel, I even interrupt myself. It's pretty bad, but why not? I'll have some fun with it.
I have squirrel moments.
Yes.
They're rampant. They're rampant, and most of them, most everybody in the live chat would agree. And the nameplate from the doghouse, was that Truman's dog?
Actually, no, that was actually found in the Upper Tudor River Valley. We don't know whose dog that was, but it is a name off of a doghouse. There were a lot of things that came down the Tudor River. It's all kind of miscellaneous items. Sitting in the back there is the only bottle of champagne to survive the Mount St. Helens eruption. It's still full and corked. That was found in the Upper Tudor River Valley. Well, we don't know who it belonged to, but and that champagne's actually even mentioned in Mr. Waite's book.
Your channel name, to interrupt you.
No worries, never an interruption. My channel name is called North Fork Survivors.
So Mama Wrench is going to link it in the chat for you.
Thank you. Yeah, North Fork Survivors. Just started it. I'm not really a YouTuber. I decided to do it because so many of my guests requested to have a channel on YouTube that they can follow along as we go over this collection. And so there's, I think I have, gosh, I don't even know at this point, maybe 5 videos or something like that. Most of them right now are introductory, and now I'm starting to get in kind of the nuts and bolts of it, of getting items and prepping items and so forth. Charlie has saved me because the beginning part of my channel, I looked like I was filming from 1997. And Charlie came in, and I even mentioned on my channel, gave me a GoPro camera and some accessories that go along with it. Got me started on a really good editing program, and now I actually look like I kind of know what I'm doing as I'm getting better. Today he was actually training too, because I want to do these superimposing of pictures relevant to whatever we're talking about, and now I know how to do that. And I'm a big boy now.
Hey, we're working on it.
Right? Yeah.
Do you want to tell us the story about Harry Truman's last letter?
Yes, the Harry Truman letter. Actually, are you able to take a video of a cell phone? Because I have to show you the pictures as we go through.
Yeah, we should be able to pick it up.
This is a very cool story. I'm glad you brought it up. So I'm going to walk over. I'm going to grab my cell phone. I didn't have it with me, but this is a very cool story. So if you'd like, show them the letter that we're going to be talking about. I'll go grab this phone.
I do not have a drone, Kenneth. Not yet. It'll be something definitely cool to add to the arsenal. But here's some other, while he's grabbing his phone.
Anybody on there, let me know if my audio gets messed up. I find that for some reason the cell phone messes up the audio.
Thank you for linking that, Mama Wrench. We're gonna pin that. So anybody that wants to check out Joe's channel, feel free to. Mama Wrench linked it, and I got it pinned.
Outstanding. Thank you very much. I like to say it takes a community to make something like this happen. These items, when we go through here, they don't belong to me. They belong to every single person in the country, in the world. So even you sitting at home, not getting rained on like we were outside, belongs to you too. And I welcome everybody to come here and see this. It's a very humbling project to work on. So we have a photo that's over there. I'm going to show it to you here. I'll stay really, really still. Here's a photo. And that photo, we know, was taken on May 17th, 1980, somewhere between 6:30 and 7 o'clock in the evening. This photo was taken by the Pullen family. So Connie Pullen is the person who took this photo. The little boy in there, he's my hero. His name is Chris Pullen. He's not a little boy anymore. He's all grown up now. But Chris Pullen made a decision 44 years ago that changed history for us. At least the history of a specific item. So what happened was Governor Dixie Lee Ray had allowed people to go into the Mount St. Helens Spirit Lake area to check their properties and so forth, because there was borderline like basically a revolt was going to happen. People wanted to go check their properties. They weren't allowed to go home. And they said, well, we're going to storm the gate at milepost 33, and we're going to check our homes. So Governor Ray tells the state police, okay, open it up on the 17th and the 18th, and from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., you can escort people in, go check your properties. 6 p.m. on Saturday, May 17th, everybody leaves, they lock the gates. And we have a picture right here of the milepost 33 roadblock with Harry's pickup truck sitting there on the other side of the gate. And that was when they closed it in the evening. So what in the world does this have to do with a letter? So according to Chris Pullen, the little boy in the photo, Harry had come down and he's talking with people, and that's this photo right here. And he's talking with people that were kind of still hanging out the gate. If you look at that and look at the photo and look at their faces, Harry's probably saying something off color, like the Brash Dasher channel, and you can see the expression on their faces that he's probably saying something like that, which he was known for doing. And then we have the photo right here of the gate. According to Chris Pullen, Harry talked to Chris and said, hey, can you do me a favor and mail some letters for me? And Connie snapped this picture. And we have a picture of Harry holding some letters. Now, while I was getting my phone, you all were kind of looking at that envelope. We're going to blow this up here. You probably can't see it, but it's pretty blurry. But there's red right here. And then the way the writing is on it, to me, is really suspicious for the letter that we have sitting in the case here. I can't prove it, but it's suspicious looking. And but we can't read it, it's blurry. So, Chris, this is where he's my hero. He takes the letters and and he takes them with his family to Castle Rock. They mail the letters to Castle Rock. But before he does that, he tells his mom, my friends aren't going to believe me that Harry gave me these letters. Can you take a picture of me holding them? And here's Chris holding the letters. And when we blow it up, it says Castle Rock Automotive Supply, which is the letter we have sitting in our case. From there, they went to Castle Rock, mailed it. The letter went to Portland and was processed on May 18th, 1980. On the front of this envelope in the case, and we can go over here now, the little circle there says PM, Portland, Oregon, May 18th, 1980. From there, it was sent back up to Castle Rock for delivery on Monday. The letter below it says, have had bad weather so far, snow, rain, wind, only got to town 2 or 3 times a month, have just holed in, hope to see you again this summer, best wishes, Harry. And we have an example of his name being written. He also, Harry loved to use this term, I'm just gonna hole in. I've got enough Coke and whiskey, I can hole in for the rest of the summer if I had to. And that was something, and he wrote that in that letter, which is super cool. So that means when we put all this information together, we have Chris Pullen's story, we have the photographs, we have the letter sitting here, we have the post office stamp. That means that without a shadow of a doubt, that letter sitting there with that letterhead on it from Mount St. Helens Lodge is the last letter to ever leave Mount St. Helens Lodge. And it left at about 7 p.m. on May 17th, 1980, 13 and a half hours before the eruption. Now, for many years prior, we thought that that was just a cool letter that Harry had sent and was saved, but we had no idea that that was the last letter ever sent. Absolutely amazing artifact sitting in here.
Honestly, it gave me chills the first time I saw it, and knowing this and hearing the story by it.
I have to give a shout out and credit where credit's due. My wife Diana is the one that broke that story. And what happened was she talks with lots of people on Facebook, and she finds things on Facebook and so forth. And on May 17th this year, she comes to me and says, I've just got all these pictures from this person on Facebook. You need to look at them. And so I look at them, and I'm like, are you kidding me? This is the letter we have. Like, absolutely amazing. So Diana gets credit for 2 things. That letter was part of the collection from Clara Audison, and that letter was left at the Castle Rock Expo Center. Clara had put it on loan there, and then the Expo Center closed and a private entity bought it now. The Expo Center didn't know what to do with these items. They tried to reach out to people. They couldn't get Clara because she had passed. From there, they took that letter and threw it in a book and donated the book to the public library in Castle Rock. My wife Diana goes to the library. She's looking through stuff. Oh wow, there's Mount St. Helens stuff here. And she goes and she's looking through this book, and it's a bunch of newspaper articles and so forth. And in there is that letter sitting there. And she comes home and says, weren't you looking for the letter that was missing out of this collection? I think I found it. It's in the library. And I went, oh my goodness. So I go down to the library and I talk to the chief librarian that's there. I said, do you have a letter in here from Harry Truman? And she's like, I don't know. We got a bunch of stuff that the Expo sent. I said, well, it would be a letter and then a handwritten, envelope, and then a handwritten letter with Harry's name written at the bottom of it. At that time, I didn't know what it said on it. And she's like, well, let's go take a look. And so we go through this book and start going through, and sure as crap, we find it sitting in this page. And I say to her, how do I put this back with the museum? And she goes, well, I have a plastic sleeve I can put it in for you if you want. I'm like, are you serious? And so what do? Pull my gloves out of my pocket. I'm prepared already, right? And we put it in a plastic sleeve, and we recovered it and put it back with this envelope. Her thought on it is that the newspaper articles and all of that, totally relevant for the general public, but that sitting in there, now that should be in a museum for the public to be able to see, and not sitting in some obscure scrapbook in a back dark area of a library. And so yeah, Diana gets the credit for it. Like I said, I gotta give credit where credit's due. She found that and recovered it and figured out where it came from, and it turned out to be this just unbelievable piece sitting in the middle. Very cool.
That's awesome. Lisa asks, how long were people kept from their homes?
Almost 2 years. It depends on where you were. That's the thing. So that's kind of a general question. Some of them were, 4 or 5 months. In this area, it was by July or so, they were able to come back into this area. Other areas closer to the blast zone of Mount St. Helens were a lot longer. And then others were never allowed to go back again. That was it. The federal government purchased the property. The homes were left to rot. They're all gone now by this time. But it kind of depends on where you were. So the answer to that question would be anywhere from 3 months to 2 years, depending upon where you were, or just never going back again.
Kind of eminent domain before eminent domain.
Right. So the federal government bought 110,000 acres up there to create the monument for today, and then Weyerhaeuser took care of the rest of it. Weyerhaeuser gets credit. Like me, you're probably not a big fan of clear-cut logging, but I got to give, again, credit where credit's due on things. 12 million trees they planted by hand around the eruption zone of Mount St. Helens. Weyerhaeuser went to work immediately. Reclamation logging, removing all of this timber that was blown down. In fact, fun fact for people, the Tacoma Dome in Tacoma was built mostly out of reclaimed lumber from the eruption of Mount St. Helens.
I didn't realize that.
Useless fun fact for you. Yeah, there you go. But
well, not useless. I mean, your friend could be on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and call you for that question. So.
Right, yeah. What material was used? Yeah, who knows? I'm never that lucky. Oh well. Yeah, any other questions?
So,
These are great questions.
Yeah, really great questions. Do you guys have any other questions before we kind of wrap up? I'm just playing camera guy today, bringing you guys along.
I have a question for you. Would anybody want to do this again? And if so, what kinds of things would you like to focus on? Because we can go down a rabbit hole. In front of me, there's a bunch of Bigfoot stuff here. Would anybody be interested in a live stream just to focus on Bigfoot and what we've kind of learned?
I think everybody already knows my answer to that. It's a major yes.
Yeah, that's a hell yes.
Give them a minute to type their questions in. I do appreciate everybody for at least stopping by and saying hi. Pan in on those, please. No problem, Lisa.
Here, we'll bring one out here.
I think it should be a separate stream for the Squatch, but definitely.
Oh, absolutely.
Kenneth also says yes.
Okay.
So yeah, we will definitely be back and do just a big old Bigfoot live stream.
Size 9 foot versus Bigfoot. It gives you kind of a nice perspective there for you.
That is definitely a Bigfoot.
That is a Bigfoot.
This gift shop, do you want to give great instructions? Well,
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out here. There's two things we can do here. So we'll put that like that. If you can see it, can you see it?
Yep.
Okay.
Mama Wrench asks, do you think the mountain and Sasquatch have a special connection?
Absolutely. Bigfoot has been seen in this area
Luke.
for a very, very long time. Spirit Lake, Native Americans, when they lived in this area, saw Spirit Lake as the doorway to the spirit world. And if you ever go to Spirit Lake, you would understand exactly what I'm talking about, because that's what it feels like. Yes, there's definitely a connection, not only from Native American times and stories, but throughout history with sightings and amazing events that occurred, and then the mountain erupts, and that becomes this part of our history and so forth. Even Harry Truman, who's known from Mount St. Helens, used to talk about the big hairy guy that would be messing with his fences and so forth. He always talked about Bigfoot. His wife Eddie, who lived with him, she passed in 1975. It is a known fact that she would not go outside of the lodge at night because she was afraid of Bigfoot. It says a lot, and these are people that were living up there full time, winter and summer, out in the middle of nowhere. In fact, Truman's Lodge was the only one that was occupied when the season ended in October until it opened up again about end of May or so. Yeah, pretty neat.
Luke says his kid wears a size 16, so it looks similar.
Outstanding. 16, holy smokes. I got a question for you. Where do you buy a shoe like that?
I feel like you'd have to get a hold of like Shaquille O'Neal and, go into one of those specialty shops.
That is a bucket list item for me, to have Shaq walk in here. I want to cast his foot, and I'm going to put it in here, and I'm such a child, but I'm going to call it a Shaq track. I'm going to put it right in here. And that way we can do a size comparison. And he's such a nice guy. I think he would let me do it.
He probably would.
I think he would.
Grilled Egos asks also, what time is that live stream? We'll put out a community post. Probably, I don't know, do you want to do this like next weekend?
Whatever you want to do. I have no life. I'm here all the time working on a museum. So, yeah, you guys can do what you want. But
Dan, welcome in. Yes. And you guys know how my life is. It's basically DoorDash and YouTube. So you guys always know what's going on with me. Looks like a fascinating museum. Mount St. Helens is Sasquatch country.
Yes.
Definitely.
And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Mount St. Helens and Sasquatch connection if we do a live stream. Yeah, get some snacks and stuff, because as you know, I have this problem. I can talk to people for a long time, and I'm an educator. I like to share information. I actually do want to share something with everybody, because I am the curator of a museum. It means that I have to beg and plead for help all the time. So I want to see if maybe some of you can help me. First of all, if you want to help out, like how could you get involved? And everybody, this is a community thing. Share this information with friends, family, social media. I stink with computers, so I don't have a lot of access to social media, but there are those of you on there that are geniuses with this stuff. So spread the word, let them know what we're doing here. Charlie took a picture. It's North Fork survivors in Toutle, Washington, on Spirit Lake Highway. It's also going to be known as the Mount St. Helens Museum. The other one, also, if you have people that want to get involved with preservation from a financial standpoint, not all of us can do that, I've put together a GoFundMe, and that GoFundMe, if you just go onto their website, and they have a search on there, just type in Mount St. Helens. It's that simple. And you'll see a picture of Reed's car come up. It says, help Joe preserve Mount St. Helens history. And the idea is that I want to try and preserve the other vehicles and items that we have outside, so they are not lost forever. The problem is, my wife and I are using the entirety of our life savings to do this, and so I figured, well, we're stronger as a community. I'll just put the word out, and hopefully one day somebody who is better off with doing these kinds of things than I am will be able to help us out. And so if you can't, completely understand. However, if you can share it on social media, get the word out, and maybe somebody out there who is able to help will do something. So that's what I ask. I really appreciate everybody.
So Luke says they are available to 16 in some brands, but mostly need them shipped, never in stock. His basketball shoes are custom.
Wow.
Lisa asks, and thank you, Dan. Lisa asks, why are no bones ever found? That's what I wonder. Dan also commented, I think Sasquatch, like humans, bury their dead.
So that is a multifaceted discussion right there. We're going to save that for the live stream. Put that question in the back of your mind and ask Matt one again, and we'll go over it.
I'll actually
that'll take
screenshot.
us right down the rabbit hole. Oh, by the way, everybody, she's going to hate me. Diana. I want to introduce my wonderful wife, Diana. She's the one that put this whole gift shop together. And she's also the one that broke the story. You'll have to talk about. I think they'll be able to hear you. I don't know. But she broke the story with the letter over there. And
Lisa, I will take a screenshot to remind you it's okay.
Diana does everything she can to stay like as far away from the cameras as possible, and I always have to be a jerk.
Yeah, he has a...
Come on, quick, come here. Charlie helps her out, and edits her out. Yeah.
So Mama Wrench says, my Nana didn't believe much about the crypto world, but while visiting Spirit Lake long before the eruption, said she saw a Bigfoot and turned some of her hairs white.
Oh, wow. Absolutely possible. A lot of reports came out of that area. Not too many reports now. And if somebody could remember that question too, saying, hey, what are we getting in the area as far as reports, we can go over that too. I'm being a good boy here. I'm trying to prevent going down the rabbit hole too far, because Charlie's going to be standing here for the next 2.5 hours if we really go down that path.
You guys will end up on the floor if that happens, because my arms will fall asleep and the phone will fall out of my hand.
Yes.
Appreciate that, Dan. Dan says, beautiful gift shop. I collect Bigfoot stuff, so we'll be visiting your business. So their fall and winter hours are on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 11 to 5 right now.
So, yep, 11 to 5.
Phone number for the shop is 360-274-6789. If you happen to be in the area and you want to come and visit, if we're here, we do during the winter time sometimes, even if we're closed, we'll make special exceptions. If you call and leave a message and say, hey, you're from the, I got this information from the live stream you did, I'll make sure I'm here for you, because now you're part of the little VIP community and friends of North Fork survivors. And frankly, all I have to do is walk across the front lawn and turn the key, and we can get you taken care of, so it's not a big deal. But we'll make something happen if you come out here, even if it's on a day when we're not open.
And Mama Wrench says, Diana, the gift shop is lovely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
She's like, get that camera off me. So, okay, her Nana visited Spirit Lake around 1972-ish.
Cool. She go to Mount St. Helens Lodge? 1972, that would have been when Harry had his a restaurant going there. Also, we actually have a picture right here of the restaurant that was up there. These are fun photos because a lot of people haven't seen them. Yep, so this one right here. That's the restaurant.
No problem, Dan. Appreciate you hanging out in the live stream. And looks like Harry's got his glass of whiskey and Coke there.
That photo was taken on May 1980. 10 days before the eruption. The photo to the left here, this is a very important one. A lot of people don't realize that is such an important photo, and the reason being is we see in the history books a lot of pictures of the Mount St. Helens Lodge sign. However, there's always somebody standing in front of it, and this one here, we have just the sign. If I had a time machine and could go back, that sign would be sitting in my museum right now. I'd have just grabbed it and run, and Harry would have probably shoot at me or something. Right?
So, yeah, Mama Wrench says, yes, that's where the postcard came from, was the lodge.
Oh, cool.
Do you still have that?
Yeah, do you still have that postcard?
Dan says, I've seen photos of Mount St. Helens before the eruption. It was a special, amazing place. Yeah, the plan next summer, well, I think we talked about it a little bit. You said September's probably the best time to hike.
Oh, to
the
climb
summit.
Mount St. Helens? Yeah, I always say first 2 weeks of September is probably, to me, the best time to climb up there. Absolutely.
So we'll be doing that in September, it looks like. As long as I can get my butt in shape.
Oh, you're going to make me climb Mount St. Helens again?
Do you want to? You don't have to.
I'll do it. I'll go back up there again.
Okay.
Make the old guy go climb it.
Oh, no. Mama Wrench says everything was lost due to a flood.
Oh, I'm sorry. When that happens to people, that's terrible. Floods and fires, all these memories that you lose. My heart goes out to you on that. that's awful. Yeah. There's, for people, it seems like people that have those events happen, there is a life before and a life after. They're very strong people and recover, but there's still that demarcation. And, like, so, sorry you had to go through that.
So, any other questions? We're going to wrap it up here in a minute or two. So, anybody else has any questions? And we'll put out a notice for the next live stream, which will be Bigfoot. We'll put it out much earlier than I did today.
I have one last thing we can do that's kind of fun because all the viewers, right? I got to be the professor in school. Here's your homework assignment for those of you that don't remember. It was the Mount St. Helens trespasser. Look that up on Google and read that story. It's a long article. You're going to hate me, but it's super cool. And so we're going to walk over here and I'm going to show you an item that we have that is super neat. And
Everything before 1987 was lost. Oh, I'm sorry, Mama Ranch.
Charlie is the only one to ever get video of this. This is Robert Rogers' Gray Man jacket that he donated to us. And yes, I put it on. I have no shame.
And signed by the legend himself.
Yes. Yeah, he is absolutely a legend.
The man in gray.
The man in gray. So when you read that story, yes, Hollywood should make a movie about him. And we have.
I think I got a good question then.
Sure.
Who would play him?
Oh, based on talking to him, that's a good question. I don't know. I gotta think about that.
Yeah, we'll have to think about that.
Because he's so unique. I have to think about that when you caught me. Ask me the one question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
That is a good question.
That is an outstanding question. Yeah.
You guys will have to go check out.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Check that out and then let us know who you think should.
When I air that, because I haven't put together the formal video yet on the channel. We're still collecting stuff because I have little bits and pieces. I might release some of them as teasers, and because when I was talking to Robert, we want to sit down and do a formal interview, a question and answer, and so forth. And but it's taking some time to try and figure out what I would ask him. So we want to make sure we do it right. What actor would play? I think it'd be too. I don't know. He's almost got kind of a what's his name? Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, he similar personality.
Has kind of. I think that's the person I'm thinking. He's got that kind of. He's got that kind of personality. Yeah. He doesn't. When you meet Robert Rogers, he does not take things too seriously. He's really easygoing.
Mama, I completely agree. That would be a good question for the next live after people read the story.
Yeah. Right.
Mount St. Helens rim climb would make a great video. Just be careful. Conditions can change as fast on the mountain as you know. Oh, for sure, Dan.
So here's a fun story about Robert Rogers he told me, and that is that he climbs into the crater of Mount St. Helens. This is like a month after it erupted. So he goes and he illegally goes into the blast zone, and he goes up in front of the volcano and he walks right into the crater. At that time, it was actually. Do I have him here? Haha, I do. Look at that. I'm actually prepared. Every once in a while it happens when I'm prepared. But let's see if we have a. Oh, here we go. These are USGS photos, old ones. But yeah, there you go. This is what he walks into. Now, these photos were taken very, very early after the eruption. But this event that was in the center of the volcano right here, you can see it's actually concave at this point. That's the vent from the eruption. A dome formed over the top of that, and they called it like the muffin or the pancake. It was this. It looked like the top of a hamburger bun sitting in there. And so Robert Rogers walked into the crater. There's steam coming out from the eruptions in there, and there was steam coming out of this dome. And he looks at it and he says, I could climb that. Yeah, I definitely can climb that. So he goes and climbs up the front of it, and he sits on the top of the dome. Mind you, he doesn't take into consideration poisonous volcanic gases, eruption, steam, heat, who knows what else is in there. I asked him, I said, that's amazing. That had to have been a really, really neat place to be sitting. What was that like? And he goes, well, it was kind of like being on an alien planet, and nothing looked familiar inside of it. And it was really effing loud. It was so loud he couldn't even hear himself think from the steam that's inside of there. While he was sitting there, he leans over and he takes a rock off the top of the dome and puts it in his backpack, picks up another one, puts it in his backpack, and then goes and climbs from here, heads west, hits the crater wall, and climbs straight up free climbs it, up the crater wall to the top of the rim, and then walks down the rim back home. You can't make this stuff up, but this is what he did. Oh, mind you, he did this in the evening and nightfall, so he couldn't be seen. So not only is he climbing this vertical wall out of the volcano, but he's doing it in the dark, so he can't be seen. Again, you can't make this stuff up. While he was sitting on the dome, he pulls these rocks out. He actually gave away one of them, and that rock right now is in the Smithsonian as a sample of the early dome that was over the vent of Mount St. Helens in 1980. The other one he took out is sitting next to me right here. Robert Rogers donated that, and this is that piece of rock. I'll put it on here so you're not looking at the light. But Robert Rogers pulled that piece of rock out of the crater of Mount St. Helens right after pretty soon after the eruption. This is what they call a bread bomb, and if we turn this around, you can see all the cracks in it. So this was molten, and then as it cooled, the surface creates all these cracks.
Hey, welcome in, Vicky. That is really cool.
Random things sitting on the counter that you don't even realize what it is. For people that like rocks, they understand.
I'm sure there's a few rock hounds in here.
We did a survey up in the Toutle River Valley, it was like 6 months ago. Dave Keeler and I did it. And we go into the valley and we're looking for items and so forth. And I find this rock that I just had to have. I put it in my backpack. We climbed 2,000 feet up this hillside to get back to our cars, hit a wall of blackberries, run out of water. The sun's going down. We're there with a little knife trying to cut this wall of blackberries to get through it. It was an epic trip. I thought many times about dumping this rock on the ground, but I wouldn't do it because the further I went into it and the harder it got, I was like, if I throw this rock out and dump it, I have lost. You have to finish it. You gotta get this rock home. So Dave and I finally make it back at nightfall. We're standing on the porch. He's chugging water and so forth. And he goes, let me take your backpack in. And he picks it up and he's like, what the heck's in here? I'm like, there's a rock. My pack was empty and I was dying. You were carrying a rock? I'm like, I couldn't leave the rock behind. Again, rock people understand. Now, I'm going to walk over here. I'll show you why I brought this rock home. I could not leave it behind.
Dan, yeah, it is definitely a historical rock. Fresh from the volcano.
This is the rock I brought home. It is a piece of andesite that has rolled down the Toutle River and has worn into a sphere, like a bowling ball. And this was naturally done by just rolling and rolling and rolling. And I found it on the valley floor. These are really rare, and I couldn't leave it behind, so I had to carry it up. It's
Hey, appreciate you hanging out, Grilled Eggos.
So anyway, there you go on this. Random stuff you gotta bring home. Fun things.
So, I'm turning around. Guys, I think we're about to call it. That's not Bigfoot. That's Joe. Like a big snowball. Yeah. So, we're going to go ahead and call it a live. Appreciate everybody for hanging out. Anything else you want to?
Would really be up to them. Is there anything last minute that you can't live without?
We'll give it a second here. Kind of says nice rock. LaDonna,
You're very welcome.
appreciate it. Appreciate all of you for hanging out the last hour and a half. It was a very fast hour and a half.
It was. This is fun. I like this.
So probably next week, I'll give you guys plenty of notice though. We'll do another live stream all about Bigfoot. There's a lot to see about the guy.
There's a lot, and come up with good questions.
Just caught the end, really enjoyed it. Appreciate it, Dan. Mama Wrench, thank you. LaDonna, yep, we'll see you guys then. Check out Joe's channel. I need a third hand even when I'm doing this. Check out Joe's channel. Link is pinned, and I see, even on this channel, I can't speak English sometimes.
He can't even English when he's standing in the store and there's no camera. Just saying.
It's true. So we'll see you guys next weekend.